Episode 89, The Division of the Land, Part 2. Welcome to the History of the Bible. We will be covering chapters 14 through 21 in today's episode. In the last episode, we talked about the land needing to be fully conquered, though many kings had already been defeated. Much of the land remained to be taken from the Canaanites that lived there, as the east side of the Jordan River had already been given to the 2.5 tribes of Israel, Gad, Reuben, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. It was time to divide the land that was on the west side of the Jordan River. Before we get into this, there is a link in the show notes that will show the land divided up between the different tribes. This will help a lot in the coming discussion, as most of the landmarks might not be all that familiar. This episode, we will be focused on just the land grants that would be given to the tribes of Israel. We'll also talk about the tribe of Levi only receiving the cities throughout the other tribes. They would not be given any land of their own. The only land that was given to them was the pasture land that surrounded each of the cities. Otherwise, they were relying on the other tribes to provide for them through the offerings that were given to the Lord, because the sole purpose of the tribe of Levi was to serve the Lord. Before discussing the land grants, a rough description of the land of Canaan and its boundaries will be given. This is only to give an idea of the land. Remember, this will be a rough description of the land so that it will begin painting a picture of the map. Imagine a rectangle standing on the short side. Now, that short side of the rectangle that it is standing on is rounded at the bottom and flows to the left. Remember, this is a rough description. At the bottom of the rectangle, standing on the rounded bottom, three things define the southern boundary: the Mediterranean Sea in the west, the wilderness or the Negev in the south, and the Dead Sea in the east. It follows the Brook of Egypt from the Mediterranean Sea in the west. It follows the edges of the wilderness, which also are the lines between Edom and what would become Israel's territory. The main city down in the far south, along the border of the Negev desert, is Kadesh Barnea, the city which the Israelites first tried to attack when coming into the land of Canaan, but were already told that God was not with them, and they were to wander in the desert until the whole generation died. This is the border in the south. Continue using the picture of the rectangle. Along the left-hand side, the western border would be the Mediterranean Sea. The northern boundary is a little less defined. Valleys, rivers, and mountain marks the extent of the border. However, to make picturing the land a little bit easier, a line is made from the Mediterranean Sea to the beginning of the Jordan River through the valleys, rivers, and mountains. This would be the northern border. The eastern border would follow the Jordan River Valley from the north into the Sea of Galilee, down the river again, and through the Dead Sea. However, because the 2.5 tribes settled on the eastern side of the Jordan River, imagine the right side of that rectangle being extended, this is where those tribes would settle. From the Jordan River to the wilderness, or desert in the east, in the north, the landmark for its extent is Mount Hermon, and in the south, it would share a border along the Arnon River with the Moabites. Yes, a very rough picture of the land that was supposed to be given to Israel. It would be best to look at the link in the show notes so that a better visual of the land that was granted to the Israelites can be seen. Because the tribes to the east of the Jordan River have already received their land grant, the tribes that we will be talking about are all on the western side of the Jordan River. Before we begin, while reading the book of Joshua, one will find a list of cities that called out to be within the land granted to that tribe. We'll also notice that the list of cities sometimes has repeated names within other land grants given to other tribes. This is seen in most tribes that share borders. The other thing that needs to be noticed, when it lists the cities, it will call out more names than it says are counted as cities. This could be due to the list calling out boundary references rather than actual cities. Starting in chapter 15 begins the description of the land grants. The first would be the tribe of Judah. The tribe of Judah would be given the land farthest south of all the land, bordered by the Dead Sea in the east, the Mediterranean Sea in the west, the wilderness or the Negev desert in the southeast, and the brook of Egypt in the southwest. As for the northern border of the tribe of Judah, it would run through the hill country of Jerusalem, going from the top of the Dead Sea out to the Mediterranean Sea. Along this border would be the southern border of the tribe of Benjamin and Dan. In Joshua 15, verse 32, it says that 29 cities and the surrounding villages were given to the tribe of Judah. However, 36 cities are called out in the list given in chapter 15. This is believed to be the case because the tribe of Simeon would only receive cities and no land. The additional 7 cities that were called out within the land of Judah but belonged to the tribe of Simeon. However, the total amount of cities and the surrounding villages that the tribe of Simeon would receive would be 13. In Joshua 19, verse 2, it says that their inheritance was amid the inheritance of the people of Judah. Verse 9 of chapter 19 explains that the land given to the tribe of Judah was too large for them. The reason that the tribe of Simeon wouldn't receive any land is because both Simeon and Levi were cursed by their father Jacob not to inherit any land within the land of Canaan. In Genesis 49, verse 7, "Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel." This curse was declared to the 2 brothers because they went into the city of Shechem and killed all of the males within the city. The tribe of Levi was redeemed in the sense that they would become the priest for the Lord, and all the Levites would share the Lord throughout the land of Israel. However, the tribe of Simeon was not redeemed. They became a tribe that would not receive land. Only 13 cities and the surrounding territory, it would be within the land of Judah. Along the northern border of the territory of the tribe of Judah was the city of Jerusalem. The city of Jerusalem was not fully conquered until later on in history. Based on the description of the land grants, the city itself falls within the border given to the tribe of Benjamin. However, they would not be able to drive out the people that lived within the city, and eventually, Jerusalem would be conquered by the tribe of Judah. There are cities within the land given to the tribe of Judah that were still under the inhabitants' control. For at least one of the cities, due to it being inhabited by the Gibeonites, the people that the tribes of Israel had made peace agreements with. Because we already talked about the tribe of Benjamin, we're going to talk about their land grant. The northern border of the tribe of Judah would be split between 2 tribes. The tribe of Dan would share the northwest border with Judah, and the tribe of Benjamin would share the northeast border. The tribes of Dan and Benjamin would share a border, Dan's eastern border and Benjamin's western border. The land that was given to the tribe of Benjamin was the original land that Joshua conquered. The cities within are the city of Jericho, Ai, and Bethel. All of it is in the central hill country of the land of Canaan. They would receive a total of 14 cities, although 2 of these cities are mentioned on the same list of cities that belong to Judah. The tribe to the east of Benjamin and north of Judah is the tribe of Dan. The tribe of Dan would receive less than 20 cities in total. To the north of both the tribes of Dan and Benjamin would be Ephraim. Although the map shows that the territory given to the tribe of Ephraim doesn't go near the sea, it says in Joshua 16 verses 6 and 7, says that the north boundary reaches the sea, more than likely referring to the Mediterranean Sea. The eastern boundary would also reach the Jordan River. North of the tribe of Ephraim is the western tribe of Manasseh. The other half of the tribe stayed on the eastern side of the Jordan River. There would be a brook that would divide the land between that of Manasseh and Ephraim and Dan. The brook would go from the Mediterranean Sea to Shechem in the hill country and then back down towards the Jordan River. The eastern border would be that of the Jordan River itself, and the northern border along the Jezreel Valley. It went from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. To the north of the tribe of Manasseh would be Issachar and Asher. Most of the cities that were given to Asher would be in that of what is known as Western Galilee, a location that was in the mountains that overlooked the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. Seated along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, the tribe of Asher's land grant would follow the coast to the northmost part of the land that was given to the Israelites. As for the tribe of Issachar, its southern border would follow the same Jezreel Valley that shared with the tribe of Manasseh. The eastern border would be that of the Jordan River, and to the north, it would have the last two tribes as neighbors, Zebulun and Naphtali. The tribe of Zebulun would be between the tribe Naphtali to the northeast and Issachar to the south, and the tribe of Asher to the west. The last tribe, Naphtali, would be given the eastern parts of Galilee. The Sea of Galilee would be on the eastern border. However, the land that was next to the sea was just called Galilee. Within this land grant would be the major city of Hazor. The land given to the tribe of Naphtali would extend to the northmost part that was granted to the Israelites, including Mount Hermon. On the western border would be the tribe of Asher. On the south would be the tribe of Zebulun. This would be the land that was given to the tribes of Israel, though just hearing about the land grants that were given to them might have been confusing. Check out the link in the show notes to get a visual of what the land divided looked like. When dividing the land, often it was based on cities granted to the tribes, not land. What this means, as one reads through the land that is granted to the tribes in Joshua 14 through 19, there are names of cities. This list of cities was to be the boundaries. Yes, they were landmarks that could be used as a boundary line between the tribes, such as valleys, creeks, brooks, rivers, and mountain passes. But for the most part, it was based on the cities to create the boundaries. That is why when reading through chapters 14 through 19, it mentions a bunch of different cities. Even cities that are mentioned on the other tribes' list are called out. For example, some list the cities that belong to one tribe, and then a couple of those same cities would be mentioned in another tribe's list of cities. This isn't to get confused on both of the tribes owning the city, but rather it is using the city as a boundary mark that differentiates between the two tribes. What also needs to be remembered is that though it might sound like all the land had been subdued, that isn't the case. The reality was that there were still many cities and villages that remain in the hands of the Canaanites. It can very easily be mistaken to think that all the land was conquered, that there weren't any other nations left in the land. That's not true. The main reason that all the nations who were removed is because that this is what the Lord said he would do. The main reason that all the nations were removed is because this is what the Lord said he would do. he would slowly turn the land over to the Israelites so that the land wouldn't become empty, causing the cities and villages to fall into disrepair and the animals to come and overrun the place. What Joshua did in leading the Israelites into the land and conquering the cities and land that he did was so that it would give the Israelites a foothold in the land. Meaning, Joshua removed most of the strongest cities within the land, many of them considered to be royal Canaanite cities. Therefore, when the land was given in grants to the tribes, each tribe had the responsibility to remove all remaining Canaanites within their boundaries. In Joshua 21, verses 43 through 45, it says, "Thus the Lord gave to Israel all the land that he swore to their fathers. And they took possession of it, and they settled there. And the Lord gave them rest on every side, just as he had sworn to their fathers. Not one of all their enemies had withstood them, for the Lord had given all their enemies into their hands. Not one word of all the good promises that the Lord had made to the house of Israel had failed. All came to pass." Many scholars believe this to be a broad statement, and that the Lord brought the Israelites into the land and defeated all the enemies that they faced. However, there was much work that still needed to be done by the tribes to completely remove all the remaining Canaanites. There are still two more allotments of land that need to be given. This would be Joshua's and Caleb's. However, we will discuss those two land grants in the next episode. So join us next time in episode 90, The City of Hebron. Until next time, remember that you are loved, special, and worthwhile.